Let's Chat.
It's so good to have with me in the studio today members from the Whitfield Remembrance Project to talk about a memorial service they're hosting this coming weekend to honor someone who was lynched in 1936, was it? How very sad, but wonderful work you are doing. Thank you for coming on. My friend Curtis, Valerie, my kid's teacher, let me just plug that in there, and Mr. Sam Gowan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely.
So what is the Whitfield Remembrance Project? What do you do? What is your mission?
Well, we formed about two and a half years ago, and we are sponsored by the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. That is a legal aid society founded in the 1980s by lawyer Brian Stevenson, formed to provide no-cost legal aid to people in the Alabama prison system who were denied decent counsel, and since the 1980s they've gotten 140 people exonerated from death row.
How very important. It must be very inspiring, rewarding to be a part of that program. And you're an attorney with the Equal Justice Initiative?
I'm just a private attorney.
Okay, but what do
certainly
you find fulfilling about being part of this project?
I love legal history, and I'm from this area, so just the things that go on in the place are fascinating, you know, especially justice issues like this. I'm really interested in that.
So tell me about Mr. Mccamy, and why are we honoring him today or this weekend?
So Mr. Mccamy was a young black man, grew up in Dalton. His dad was a preacher. He worked at the hotel back in the day. He was fairly well known. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was an older lady. This is sort of a preamble to so many of these stories. An elderly lady, lonely, thought somebody was trying to attack her. They put word out. The sheriff sent the dogs out looking for a young black man, and he was the closest man there. He had an alibi, but they didn't care about that. So they stuck him in the county jail. Word spread that there was going to be a lynching. It was in the paper. The sheriff knew all about it, and just did nothing. Late on a Saturday night, there were 30 cars driving around the jail. This party looking to kill this man. The sheriff actually lived in the jail, and he said he slept the whole time, which is just, he was complicit in that. Eventually they stopped. Some men wearing masks ran in there, and the jailer just handed over the keys. Just said, "Here you go." They snatched him out of the jail, gave the keys back to the jailer, who just sat back down and went back to his work. Pulled him out of the jail, pulled him out into the yard where we're having our ceremony, actually the actual space where he was killed. Somebody shot him in the back. All these 150 men, they then drug him over the ridge to a church pit on Tibbs Road, where they strung him up on a telephone pole and left him hanging there.
Oh, it makes me want to cry. It's not even 100 years ago, just a couple generations back. So it's just so sad, but so important to raise awareness for that, because they say history repeats itself if we don't teach this stuff, you know? So Mr. Rivers, tell me about why you think it's important to raise awareness today and what your purpose is with this mission.
Well, first of all, I think history is very important, and in today's world, it seems like there would be less interest in history. But you have to understand the implications that are of the past, and so you can deal with, address the issues and challenges that we have today. I can cite you a few things about the migration of the blacks. I guess about 6 million blacks migrated from the South due to fear, intimidation, lack of jobs, lack of housing, and so also between the Civil War and World War II, it was the same thing. A lot of the blacks went to the North because of fear. But today, history is very important, because there's a gentleman named, if I can correct his name right, his name was Cicero Tellus, I think it was. He's a New York statesman. And what he said was, part of his statement was that if you're ignorant of things that occurred before you were born, you remain a child. So what is worth I guess the collection that our ancestors did that's put in books, and we don't read them.
Right.
And they have a lot of movies about history. And also I think that a lot of the history of the blacks fell through a lot of cracks too, because at that time we didn't write the history, they did, so a lot of history was left out. But today history is very important, and the issue today is about books coming out of the schools, I think that's not good at all, too. I think we need to keep the books in the school. As someone say, you need to go where you've been, you know, so you help you know where you're going.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rivers. You seem like a very wise man, a veteran. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your tireless work with this. I would imagine it's hard to not feel bitter and angry. It's important to move forward and teach so we don't go back there. Can you give us some details about the event, how we can learn more, maybe how we can support this project if we can't make the event?
Yeah. We are gathering at the Emory Center. Actually, the Emory Center in downtown Dalton is the African American Historical Cultural Museum, and also Curtis is a graduate of the Emory Center because it was the segregated school until, what, 1967?
When you were there, it was segregated? Oh, wow.
And the old jail where the lynching occurred is right next door. So we'll gather at the Emory Center. The events will begin 9:30 on Saturday morning. And we have a whole ceremony planned. We've got speakers, singers, and then we'll be collecting soil from the site of the lynching to be preserved at the Legacy Museum in Montgomery. And then from there, we will go to West Hill Cemetery, which is where another one of the members of our group is a funeral director, and he did some research and he was able to find the unmarked grave where Mccamy was buried.
Wow.
So it's been, I guess, rediscovered recently, and an anonymous donor has donated a headstone. So we will dedicate the new headstone after the ceremony at the Emory Center.
Sounds like a full day, a lot of important messages to be shared, and a lot of important work you do. So I encourage, thank you for Sam, Valerie, and Curtis for coming on today. Head on over to Whitfield Remembrance Project on Facebook, and it looks like we have the website right there on the screen. It's a little long than the phone number there for more information, 605-1674. This coming weekend, a very important memorial service. Thanks